The Charlotte Ledger Podcast is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network.
Today's episode is presented by PBS Charlotte's Unspun program, helping you learn what politicians are thinking but not saying, hosted by former Governor Pat McCrory. Welcome to the Charlotte Ledger Podcast. I'm Ashley Fahey, managing editor of the Charlotte Ledger. To find out more about the Charlotte Ledger, visit thecharlotteledger.com. I'm joined today by Duvale Murchison, a Charlotte-based videographer and filmmaker. We're talking about his latest project, 150 Plus a Day, a micro-documentary series that aims to ask 150 plus transplants in the Charlotte region why they moved here. Thank you so much, Duvale, for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Very excited to hear about this project you've been working on. But first, I just wanted to get to know you a little bit better. Okay. Would love to hear about your background as a videographer and filmmaker and kind of what got you into the business.
Well, I've always wanted, first of all, thank you for having me. This is an honor that I don't take for granted, and I'm very grateful. My dream and desire to get into this world started when I was a kid, quite honestly. And then in ninth grade, I took a tour of Hill Vocational High School in Lansing, Michigan, fell in love with TV and radio production. It was always my childhood dream. Did a couple years in that through my high school year. I always kept the camera in front of me, but it didn't get real serious until after I retired from the Michigan Department of Corrections after 27 years of service, 2014 that year. That same year, I got my first real acting gig, kind of almost by mistake, on the Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice set. That went from a non-speaking role to a speaking role, and my dream and desire to ever be on a movie set happened. That was part one. Part two was to always just maybe make one good film or something like that. And so ever since then, 14 or so movies later, TV shows, 2016, I decided to get behind the camera and just start recording content of all kinds. Started with basic stuff like weddings and whatnot. And anybody that would hire me to now, I don't do any more weddings, more high-end things like documentary films, actual film projects, really good content creation projects, things of that nature. So it just kind of, when I retired at the age of 51, I started living out my childhood dreams. Is that crazy or what? Here I am, 63, living out my childhood dreams of being a filmmaker.
I love that.
Unreal.
We hear this a lot, especially at the Ledger, folks who are in maybe their second act of their career or their life, and they're finally chasing that dream they've long had after their first act, so to speak. So that's really cool to hear. And as a bit of a movie nerd myself, I love to hear that's still possible even when you're later in your life to kind of pursue that. What was it about being behind the camera that was intriguing to you? Because you clearly had some experience being in front of the camera.
I did. Behind it because I wanted to tell stories. I grew up listening to radio theater. As a result of listening to radio theater, I wanted to go into radio, which I did for 19 years. You know, radio, of course, back then, it was about the theater of the mind and how well can you keep your audience engaged. And we were real personalities then. And basically, we were telling stories the whole shift on air. And I still had that itch to get behind the camera, and it began to get fulfilled, like I said, in 2016, when I said, you know what, let me just try to create stories. Let me capture stuff to help them visualize and tell the story. So it's always been in me to want to tell a story. And hopefully I've answered that question for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a favorite type of format as far as storytelling, whether it's documentaries or some other things, feature films? Is there a certain thing that you gravitate toward most?
To produce, yes, documentaries, whether what I call micro documentaries to long form documentaries, because I love stories, especially those that take you on emotional roller coasters. That's pretty much my style. But documentaries is what I love to produce. Watching, something a little different. I like watching those, but I like action, suspense, spy, real smart stuff.
Well, maybe more exciting, although there are plenty of documentaries out there now that
oh my Lord, yes.
Certainly very cinematic and certainly very compelling storytelling.
I've seen a lot, and I, quite honestly, I watch a lot just to be entertained, but to watch how they do things. But I learned so much from so many different filmmakers. I mean, some of these people are just so good at this. So I'm still learning.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to hear about what kind of inspired you to do this project, which I know is debuting June 4th. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, ma'am, it is.
Great. So I think you're calling it 150 plus a day. It's a stat we hear all the time in the Charlotte market.
Yeah.
I think it gets brought up at every press conference, every sort of event I'm covering. So tell me a little bit about how you kind of came up with the idea of the project and what exactly it is.
Okay. It spawned from an idea I had a couple of years ago to do a podcast called Everybody Has a Story. There I go on to tell stories. And I just kind of kept thinking it through. I was doing a lot of podcast work for clients, video podcasting, and I just never took the time to delve into what I really wanted to do. And it wasn't until about early April when I was at the Tuesday forum, and during the panel discussion, they kept repeating, and it was 7 times that I counted, we need to tell our stories. Charlotte needs to tell their stories. And one guy says, I talked to my editor and I said, we should just get a camera, go out and capture the stories. And the editor said, man, we can't do that for free. We need to make money. And I thought to myself, I can. 4 days later, my podcast idea turned into 150 plus a day. Everybody's moving to Charlotte. After I left Tuesday Forum, I came home and developed a production plan because I'm like, I got it. That's what I'm going to do. Developed a production plan, got everything listed. The next day I went back and reviewed it to make sure I was correct in what I wanted to do. And then where am I going to go? I heard about the Wine Fest. Shout out to the Wine Fest University and recorded 30 interviews that day, which gave me my jump start for the series. And so what it's about is simple. There's 157 people moving to Charlotte per day. And I just wanted them to tell their stories like they said in Tuesday Forum. And kind of like my original idea, everybody has a story. And I asked 4 or 5 basic questions. Who are you? When and why did you move to Charlotte? How has Charlotte changed you? What were your expectations versus the reality when you got here? And why Charlotte? The next series of questions are going to be the same, but I'm adding one that says, describe Charlotte with 3 words. So that's the 6th and 7th episodes, that's when that format will start. And that's what it is, just regular people off the street, unscripted, who don't know me, I don't know them, and we just strike up a conversation, and it's organic, and it's so cool to hear people just tell their stories free without a script. So that's what happened. That's what it's about.
Do you find a lot of people are willing to talk to you, especially because you're on camera? Are people eager to share their reasons and their thoughts?
There are some that won't. No, that's okay. And I always joke and say, hey, listen, I'm not going to share this with the feds. You're good. Just make a joke out of it. But I thank them and they move on. But for the most part, I've been very successful. People just are willing to get on and be their authentic selves and make it happen. What's interesting, though, I kept finding people that were from Charlotte. Now, prior to that, I'm like, where are these unicorns at? And I couldn't believe, I probably ran into 20. I couldn't believe it. Like, where you guys been? But they're very willing. Very. I don't have any problem, really. If I ask 10 people, 8 will say yes.
That's pretty good odds. And the point is to talk to people who've moved here, right? Like, so you're
Yes.
not really talking to people who are from here.
No, unfortunately, they don't get to make the cut. And not even the director's cut. No, I just kind of stand around where I'm at, like Noda, for instance. I've been out to Noda. I love Noda, so I just love it. And just said, hey, I'm like, you guys look like the people I need to have on camera. Like, what are you talking about? And then, are you from Charlotte? No. Originally? No. How long have you been here? 5 years? You're just who I need to talk to. And then I explain what's going on. I just tell them the whole thing, who I am, what I'm doing. It's a YouTube thing. And I love to get the stories. They're like, yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
That's how it happens.
That's great. And so you mentioned the Wine Fest in Noda. Are you hoping to get places all across Charlotte? Like, how do you think about where to go and what geographies or neighborhoods you're kind of targeting in your approach here?
I look for events in your newsletter that I get every day. Helps. Thank you so much. It lets me know what's going on. But I also hear about things. I follow certain things. And like, for instance, this weekend, I'm not sure when this will air. This weekend is Taste Fest. Right? No, Taste of Charlotte. And so Friday, I'll be out there just walking around. Saturday, I got too much to do. Sunday, I'll be back out there. So I just find places. But what I've also done is I've broken down the city of Charlotte in 5 zones to basically get like landmarks, art, especially because we're such an artsy community. Things like the links and everything I can think of, museums that will make great B-roll. So I'll be spending the entire weekend and all of next week getting more B-roll. And I have quite a bit. That's what I do. And so again, there's events that go on and I just show up.
That's awesome. And not to ask any spoilers, of course, because obviously folks should watch it and learn for themselves. But Just curious, in your conversations with folks so far, what has jumped out at you as far as some of the reasons why people have moved to Charlotte? Has anything been particularly surprising? Can you share even just kind of high level what some of the feedback has been?
I can. One funny thing is the guy from Belgium, and the question that I asked, how has Charlotte changed you? If it has, he's like, the barbecue. It's the smoked meats. I never expected that answer. One guy said he found a queen in the Queen City. Somebody from Guyana talked about just coming here and loving it. But the biggest thing I found, the consistent thing that I found, especially from those from New York or the East Coast, Boston, New York, especially, there's a common theme. When I ask the question, how has Charlotte changed you? And almost everyone says it slowed me down, because New York is such a fast-paced area. But they said it slowed them down and the quality of life here is better. Those are the two common themes that I've been seeing the most.
Interesting. And they say it in a positive way that
Absolutely.
slowed them down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. One guy is so funny. He had the same misconception that I had in 2014 when I came here. He says, I thought Charlotte was going to be slow and country. And it is definitely not that. That is his exact quote. When I came here, I had the same misconception, and man, was I so foolish. And it's fastest growing city in America.
That's right.
And there's reasons for that. Charlotte is home for me. When I go back to Lansing, Michigan, I know that's where I was birthed and raised and all that good stuff. But Charlotte is home. Charlotte's home.
And with the folks that you've spoken with, I'm sure it's been a wider range of opinions and thoughts about Charlotte, positive, neutral, maybe even some negative. Is there anything that they have shared about what surprised them about Charlotte? Maybe it's the slowness, or maybe there's some other things that came up in some of your conversations, something that either they misperceived about Charlotte or things that they assumed about a stereotype or something that was either proven wrong, or maybe it was proven right.
Well, the being slow in country definitely is totally wrong. But a couple of the big things. One, people were surprised that even though it's a big city, they still feel it has the small city feel, even with all of its progression and advancement and opportunities. Opportunities and advancement are big with people. They move here for the opportunities here, but then they find that the quality of life is so good here, but it's like an even pace. I tell people all the time, you can come here, you can get big city if you want, or small city. You can get mountains, you can get country. You can get the ocean if you want to go 3 or 4 hours away. It's, in my mind, it's all Charlotte, but the bottom line is you can get pretty much everything you want here. If you really want to just get away and just escape, like you're not even in the city, go to Lake Norman, get on the yacht tour. It's unbelievable. So that's what's been the common thing, just the quality of life and how much there is to do. And that's a big thing. There's so much to do. And the way I describe it to my friends and family, Charlotte has so much to do, you have to pick the worst of the best stuff to narrow down what is it that I want to do. So, yeah. It's that type of thing.
I do think that's a surprise for folks. Like I have one of my best friends, she lives in Brooklyn, and I had her come down to Charlotte a few years ago, and she was surprised at like how much there was to do here. And she's like, oh, you guys actually have a really cool music scene with the music venues you have here. And then to get the stamp of approval from someone from Brooklyn, just that feels almost like you've made it in some ways. Maybe she was just being polite, but I don't think that's her style. I think you said you have a near-term goal of trying to get 157 transplants to talk with you in the official capacity to match that statistic of 157 people a day. Where are you at in that process? And is that still the goal?
That's still the goal. I'm about a third of the way there. There's some interviews that I didn't keep just because of the content of it, so I had to go back and find somebody else. But let me say this, 5 episodes already edited, done, 5 episodes in that are already scheduled. I don't have to do anything but let the date happen, and YouTube just drops it. So this gives me time. My goal again is 157, but you know what? What'll probably happen is I'll get real close, and then I'll get a new statistic from Mecklenburg County. There's 182 people moving here per day, and I'll be like, oh my gosh. I'll stick with 157 because of the title.
Maybe it will go down and you won't have as many. The way that the trend line has been going.
I'll keep it there, yep. So it's been pretty successful. That and mixing this production in with the other stuff I have has worked out well. So I'll reach that goal because I'm very determined. I persevere, and this is fun. This is really fun for me.
I was going to ask about that. Like, how has your experience been just talking to folks and, asking them these questions? They seem very straightforward and basic, but it sounds like you've learned a lot and heard some really interesting stories from people.
I have a lot of very interesting and fun stories. And the reason I say it's fun because, first of all, I love people. I don't care who you are, what you do. I just love people. And I don't meet strangers. My wife always blames me about being able to do that. I never meet strangers. So I'll approach a person and we strike up a conversation and it just works. And that's what makes it fun when they're getting on camera. If I make them feel comfortable and warm right off the bat, it's an easy win for both of us. People are smart. People are very intuitive and they can pick up real fast if they want to have a 30-second conversation with you or a 5-minute conversation. So I've been very, very blessed in that regard where people just, we warm up to each other real fast and we do it. So it's just so much fun for me. It really, really, it's not work. It's just fun. And my logo says lights, camera, action, but the word art, you probably can't see it, but it's listed in the action. This is art to me. And when you're creating things to me, that's where my passions are, just creating something new. And this has been so much fun.
We'll be right back to the conversation. Today's episode is presented by PBS Charlotte's Unspun program, discussing what politicians are thinking but not saying. You talk about why you decided to do the format that you did, the sort of short, I don't know how you called it, is like a mini documentary or?
I call it micro documentary. There's some stuff I made up.
Yeah. Why that? Why the micro documentary format versus one big long form story with all the stories potentially?
Long forms takes a long time to edit, a long time. And I know people have microwave attentions. We want it fast, quick, and in a hurry. And plus through my research, which I spent several months researching just what to do, how to do, make sure the production is tight, just all kinds of stuff prior to my even going to where I did with this project. I realized that they'll give you 8 to 12 minutes. And what really did it for me was my wife who watches YouTube. She does not watch broadcast TV. Me either. I rarely watch it, more streaming. But she would get up and she would actually on certain days of the week, like Sundays, I got to get up and see I forgot what the young lady's name who bought a house for $1. Every week she's on there. Hers are 30, 40, 45 minutes and other people, but she just watches it. But I noticed how many people, right in the bottom left corner, how many people are also watching it. And I thought, hundreds of thousands of people are watching this long form. What can I do with short form? Again, for me, it was, I don't want to spend that much time editing. It's too much. So I'd like to pack it all in. It's real fast and it's entertaining. And so when you get done, it's not like you're left on a cliffhanger, but you're like, man, what's the next one going to be like? So 8 to 12 minutes for me is the sweet spot. And that's why I went that way. You put it like this. You can get a cup of coffee, watch it, and by the time your coffee's done, the episode should be over.
That's a good way to put it. And you're so right about people's attention spans.
Oh my goodness.
Proliferation of short form video. And, we're even as journalists telling stories in that manner now too, which that's not something I was trained to do. So it's been interesting to see, but in some ways it's kind of nice because it means you have to kind of get to your point quicker and get to the heart of the story a little bit faster if you don't have the attention span maybe that we once all had. And then I wanted to ask, so you talked a little bit about, you like to go to big events to find folks. Are you looking like across Mecklenburg County? Are you looking at any of the suburbs of Charlotte? Because they're also, of course, going through quite a growth spurt themselves. Or is it really more focused on the city of Charlotte, the kind of the iconic Charlotte neighborhoods? What is sort of your thought as far as, you mentioned the 5 zones before? Is it mostly in the county, city, the region?
The production for the B-roll primarily is Mecklenburg County, Charlotte Charlotte-centric for the most part. I broke down the zones. However, the statistic for 157 is metropolitan Charlotte. So if I limited it to Charlotte, my numbers would be off. So if I'm in Matthews, all the surrounding areas, Concord, wherever there's an event, I'm going because they're part of that 157 a day.
That's absolutely right. And I think a lot of people do conflate that a little bit. They think it's city, but to your point, it's the whole metro area.
Yeah, without that, it's a lower number.
I wanted to see, you mentioned a few folks earlier, some people from New York, the East Coast, but then you mentioned a few international people who have moved here. What have been some of the areas, most common areas you see people are moving from? I think I heard Belgium earlier and Guyana. Are you seeing a lot of international folks who are deciding to make their lives here in Charlotte, or is it mostly just New York people kind of relocating?
So far, only three. Let's see, Italy, Guyana, and Belgium. I'm sure I'll find more, but New York is dominant. What's interesting is when I moved here in 2014, just began to try to navigate my way through and figure this Charlotte thing out. I kept meeting people from New York. I met so many people from New York that I actually could hear the dialect and know the differences in the boroughs for real. Like I really met that many people because I'm just trying to figure out how do I navigate my way through meeting so many people. I've lost that since then, but New York is dominant. And that I want to interview everybody that will talk on camera, but my goodness, I'm like, oh gosh, another New York person. How do I spin this one? So I try to mix it up, but New York has been the main thing. But all over the nation, I haven't had a lot of West Coast yet. I'm waiting on that. But once I get around, I'm pretty sure I'll find it.
I think so. And, we're this trend of West Coast companies putting kind of outposts here in Charlotte. So maybe that's coming, with Capital Group and some of the other folks. Maybe for the New Yorkers, if you need to mix up the interview question, because this is something I'm wondering, where do New Yorkers get good pizza in Charlotte? I mean, I found a few good places, but there's nothing quite like a New York site.
That is a great question. I have to incorporate that. I promise you it's going to happen. Next interview is going to be, hey, by the way, you're from New York. I got to ask you, where do you find the best pizza here?
That's what I'm wondering. I think that's the news we can all use.
I will do it. I promise you. And I'll email you and say, wait, episode, whatever.
Excellent.
They're going to talk about it. In fact, I'll email you well in advance.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Have you encountered anyone who expressed either regrets about moving here or Charlotte or the region didn't quite live up to some expectation they had in maybe a more negative way? Or because of course we're growing, there's so much good momentum right here for Charlotte, but there's also growing pains and there's also challenges that we're facing as a region. Did any of that kind of bubble up in your conversations?
No real negativity, none. There was one young lady, her issue was leaving a religion she called a cult, but there was two guys. One said the pay. He's a teacher. He thought the pay was going to be better here, but it's not. So I won't even get into that whole sermon because we understand what's going on with that whole thing with teacher pay. And another guy and this the most negative, that he was another guy from Brooklyn, Bronx. He's from the Bronx. He said he thought the money would be there, but it'll get there, is what he said. So there was optimism with the pessimism. But I haven't had any real negative. I wish I had moved it, not yet. And I will actually record them. And I think it'll be a good balance.
Yeah.
I think it will be, but I promise you, those listening to this podcast, it is unscripted. I just catch people on the street where they are. I don't care where they're at. We start talking and we go for it. I know none of them. Now, the only two people that I will know right now are my brother and sister-in-law, who just moved here last week. They bought a house in February. They were initially going to the DMV. After a few visits to Charlotte, they were converted. And so, yeah, in fact, he's here now. But the only two that I know, everybody else, total strangers. So it's real stuff.
And, I just blanked on my question. I hate when that happens.
Don't you love when that happens?
Oh, I just thought of it.
Oh, that's...
Are you looking for a specific range, or is any transplant, like someone who moved here last week versus someone who moved here 30 years ago? Is there a range you're kind of most interested in?
10 years, maybe if it's longer, but I'll take the story, but I want to stick around 10 or so, close to where I'm at 12 years now. I don't want to get anybody that's been here. My brother and sister-in-law have been here a week. I'm going to talk to them for at least 6-7 months. It's too new because they can't answer certain questions. Oh, Charlotte changed you? Or give me Charlotte in 3 words. So for me, it's if you've been here between 2 and 10 years, maybe a year, anything less, I just think it takes away from the validity of the story. Like, how can Charlotte change you in 6 months? But it did me, though. It was a rude awakening from where I came from, my little city. Like, oh my gosh, this is different.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue because I wanted to remind me of the questions you ask folks because I would love to ask you them to get your perspective.
Okay. I got to grab my note here. The first one is, what's your name? Where you from? And when and why did you move to Charlotte? Easy one. Then what was your reality of Charlotte versus your expectations? All right, that's the other one. Then I ask them, how has you and or your lifestyle changed since moving to Charlotte? I asked them last two. For someone looking to pivot, tell them, why Charlotte? Why Charlotte over wherever? And then the last one, in 3 words, describe the Charlotte vibe. That's it.
Oh, I
So
like
three
that.
to 3 to 5 minutes that conversation. Some have been long. I'm like, okay, I gotta redirect them back to the question so I can get the answer.
I
Versus
feel
I'm
you
not
on
sure
that.
what they're answering, but don't you love when that happens?
Oh, it happens all the time in my line of work.
I bet.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the only questions I have. Those 5, and we're done.
Perfect. So, what's your name? Where are you from? And when and why did you move to Charlotte?
My name is Duvale Murchison. I am from Lansing, Michigan, hometown of the greatest point guard ever played a game of basketball, Magic Johnson. I'll be glad to debate anybody on that. That's always my spiel. I'm sorry you had to suffer through that. Why did I move to Charlotte? I moved to Charlotte in 2014 after a 3-day visit. I came here on a hunch just to check out Charlotte. Didn't know a single person, nobody. After day 2, I said, I'm moving here. All I did was drive around. 5 months later, I was back with a complete move. I liked it that much.
Wow.
What other question you got for me?
Reality of Charlotte versus the expectations. How has that changed since you moved here?
Man, the reality is, like I mentioned, the one guy he's from New York. I thought Charlotte was going to be slower in country. I had that same misconception. Oh my gosh. When I got here, my eyes were open. I'm like, you know what, buddy? You're the one that's slow in country, not these people here. And so the reality was, this was progressive, fast moving, even though the pace is not New York fast, it's fast, but it's a deliberate pace. And it was so refreshing because it was always progressive, so many opportunities. I had no clue. It was certainly not what I expected. And I'm still learning, like, you got to be kidding me. I don't know. I've been here 12 years and didn't know that. I promise you. How has my lifestyle changed? My lifestyle has changed dramatically. My circle of friends, again, I came here not knowing a single person. Well, I take that back. I did meet somebody, and a year after I met her, I married her. I'm like, you know what, buddy? Don't let this one slip by you. And so, but my circle of friends, a lot of influential people, a lot of regular everyday people, just genuinely good people. That's what I met. And I just fell into those circles from high net worth people to people struggling. All of us are struggling to a degree I told you I love people. So I don't care who you are. There's so many people from so many different walks of life. So it's changing that. I've got a huge family and circle of friends. And just in this wave of achievement, it wasn't like that in my hometown. It's stagnant. It used to be a factory town. I grew up with 5 factories. When I left, there's 1. I grew up with 5, but now there's 1. And so, as you can imagine, a blue-collar town, when they lose all that, everything else goes. There's no industry there, and here's just multiple. So it just changed my life exponentially in so many different ways. For someone looking to pivot, why Charlotte? Everything I just said. It's all everything I just said. But no, seriously, if you are looking to advance your life, if you're looking to just use your creativity, use your skills, your talents, just seek a new way of life, a new way of living. As my brother said it, to go somewhere, to be who you want to be, how you want to be, check out Charlotte. I said, that's what I did. I told people, and I'm not running from anything from Lansing, but I'm running to something in Charlotte. And I know that I'll run into it when I get there. And describe Charlotte vibe in 3 words. Oh my, I never had to ask this one. So now I'm getting practice. So the people I asked the question will have the same hesitation. 3 words: progressive, charismatic, lucrative.
Ooh, I see that. Those are good words. I was even just thinking about that. Like, what are the 3 words to describe?
Yeah, let me hear yours.
I think ambitious has to be one of them. Charlotte's the most ambitious city I know. It's always trying to achieve and reach for the stars. And it's what I love about it. And then on the flip side of that, I don't know if I could do this one in 1 word. It's like chip on the shoulder, maybe insecure, a little insecure. I think there's always been this comparison to cities like Atlanta and Nashville. but Charlotte needs to just realize like we're our own people and we're our own identity and we're our own city. I guess the third one would be maybe unexpected. I moved here in 2016, so just a couple of years after you. I assumed it would be a kind of a short-term stop for me, and I would move on to a bigger city. A lot of journalists go to New York or DC, but really the city grew on me, and I loved covering it as a journalist, and here I am 10 years later. So It was unexpected, though. I certainly didn't know that was going to happen. There's a lot more words I could describe, but those are the maybe three that come to mind.
Those are good ones. One person that I interviewed is actually part of the teaser for the episode that it's tonight at 6:00. The first thing you hear is me asking, why Charlotte? The lady goes, because it ain't Atlanta. Just so
Atlanta conversation and comparison comes up so often. It's wild.
So hey, Atlanta, I just want you to know you're overrated.
I think
I said it.
But yeah, the traffic's something else down there.
Yes, Lord.
I'll ask one final question just to kind of things up here. So through the conversations you've had so far in doing this project, have you learned anything new about Charlotte, and especially the folks who have moved here and decided to make it home? Anything that you didn't know about the city before you started embarking on this project?
There's a few locations that people have mentioned that they saw them, and I wrote the note down. I'm like, I need to go by there. But really, for me, the most, I'm learning something new every day, I promise you. But to me, the one that's been the most, for me as a creative, and amazing and astounding, amazing is so overused, but I got to use it, was the 64-foot troll in the River District. I'm like, what? A 64-foot troll? No way. So I immediately packed up the gear and went out there and couldn't believe it. So every chance I get to use that B-roll, I'm going to. But it's like that. It's different areas. So much so. But honestly, and this is, I want people to know I'm not saying this because I'm talking to you, but in reading your newsletter every morning, I'm learning way more through you guys than through my interviews. I mean, you're a journalist, so you got the inside track on everything, but so much stuff going on, the whole real estate scene and what people are doing. I'm just learning so much that way. And it gives me the opportunity to go, okay, I need to go to this spot coming up that I didn't even hear about. Typically, the things I hear about is more word of mouth than anything. But thanks to you all, you're helping me to make a better product. So appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that plug. I promise our listeners, we did not ask him to say that. But
no, they did not.
We always appreciate when people find value in what we do. That's why we do it. So, well, thank you so much for taking the time here. Folks, if you want to check out how can people check out the series? Is there a certain YouTube channel they should go to?
It's on my page, Duvale Murchison, but the series title is 150, the number 150 and the plus sign. 150 plus a day. Everybody's moving to Charlotte. It's on my page, my YouTube page, exclusively, Duvale Murchison. But I got to say this. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And growth is something we talk about all the time at the Ledger. And I just think this is kind of a unique way to look at that. So I appreciate you sharing some thoughts and the behind the scenes of the process of the filming this series. I can't wait to check out the first episode later today and the ensuing ones in the coming weeks. So thanks.
Hey, when I find the pizza, I'll make sure, I promise you I'm going to email you.
I will be following up on that. I care deeply about getting some quality pizza. And there's still places in Charlotte, but I haven't found this spot yet. So
I'll let you know.
Following up on that.
All right.
Thank you so much and hope you have a great rest.
Thank you. You too. Appreciate you so much.
That's it for today. Thanks for listening. For more information about the Charlotte Ledger, visit thecharlotteledger.com. This episode was produced by Lindsay Banks. Today's episode was presented by PBS Charlotte's Unspun program that tells you what politicians are often thinking but not saying.
QueenCityPodcastNetwork.com.